Hi everyone, today's a lovely day. It seems to be nice and bright outside, so hopefully the lighting is perfect to showcase these three watercolors that I want to share with you today. A watercolor like Sennelier, which is renowned to be great for glazing. The first or the initial reaction is always that it's not very bright, but because it's great for glazing, it's meant to go deeper and more vibrant with every glaze that you do. So I want to in a way not compare the pigment itself or the brands, but I want to compare how the glazing technique looks against as the end result, how it looks compared to a bright color that is bright to begin with and stays bright, and to which level I can get the Sennelier quinacridone red. So this is my Schmincke swatch card, and this is the quinacridone red light that I'm going to use. And this one is the White Nights, and here I'm going to use the quinacridone red. Now, as you can see, they're quite different. So the red is more of a raspberry tone, and this one is a pinky kind of warm tone, very pretty. However, when you compare the third one, which is the Sennelier quinacridone red, it seems to be sort of flat looking. Again, this is my personal opinion, because I know some of you really love the Sennelier watercolors, and you know, we all have different needs when it comes to watercolors. This is just me sharing what I can see as I am working with these watercolors. So compared to them two, although Schmincke tends to be a softer color as it dries, it still seems to be a lot more interesting. So these two are done on the Arches rough paper, which I really like for swatches because I can get that texture. And then this one is done on the Moulin de Roy smooth, but the reversed, so the hot press paper, but the reverse side of it. So that might be why it's not coming off as vibrant as these two, because Arches makes everything look super vibrant. So I'm going to use a different paper now for this purpose. So this is the Stillman and Burn Beta series, and it's, I believe, 270 GSM paper, so it's perfectly fine for watercolors. And this is just a very quick, very simple illustration of poppies, and what I want to do is I want to use different watercolor for every poppy and see how they work. Okay, so let's start. So here is my Sennelier quinacridone red. I'm going to squeeze it out onto the palette. I'm going to use my Princeton Heritage brush, which is a round number 5, so it shouldn't take too much water in, because it's a synthetic, but it's designed to replicate a sable brush. It should hold some water, but obviously, as it is not a real sable brush, it won't hold as much, which is great because I want to see how this works. So I'm going to start with the wet and wet technique. So I'm just going to wet the petals. So here I've got this lovely quinacridone red, and I'm going to mix up a nice creamy consistency, and I'm just going to, wow, that's beautiful. I love watching watercolor spread and move. So I'm just going to place it in these areas, and I'm going to try and move a little bit of pink to the bottom edge of the petal. So I'm trying to get the the top of the petal. I'm trying to get the bottom of the petal at its darkest. So this wasn't supposed to happen. I was trying not to touch them. But if that happens, you can just try and control it a little bit. Just going to put the dark here and a little bit of dark just over here, like so. And then I'm going to lift some of these colors right at the top edge. Like so. So to begin with, I have to say it's not my favorite quinacridone red that I have. You will see the other two which I prefer with this one, color-wise, and also vibrancy-wise. It's a nice, I'd say medium vibrancy. It's not super vibrant. And now let's do the final one. So when you have this kind of situation where it runs in, you can just mop it out a little bit just to correct the edge, because this isn't a botanical or super realistic illustration. It's meant to be quite quick and easy. I'm going to leave this white bit here as a highlight, although it does look a little bit harsh at the minute. But I'll see, I might correct it later. So now moving on to the White Nights quinacridone red, and it's the first color in the second row. And I have to say I really love it. So I'm going to, first of all, because it's a pan, I'm going to wet the pan and kind of activate it a little. Not that you need to do it, but I want it to be nice and creamy. Just like the consistency was of the Sennelier, so I get a very, I try to get the accurate creaminess of the watercolor. So making sure this petal is nice and glazed. And now I'm going to go into this beautiful, now really creamy watercolor, and you can see how much more vibrant it is, but it doesn't move as, it doesn't flow as quickly and as beautifully as the Sennelier did, so you have to really guide it. There was exactly the same amount of water on both, so with this one you have to work slightly different, so you have to pull it out a little bit more, like so. And I'm going to take it right up. So it's a very controlled way of painting with this one, this particular one. So you can see the vibrancy is just incomparable. However, that's what I am interested in finding out, whether I could get the Sennelier quinacridone red to look as vibrant as the White Nights with the glazing, because that's what that is what they're meant to do. This color itself is just stunning, absolutely stunning, really beautiful. This is actually one of the new colors from the 2007. I have swatches, so have a look if you're interested. So you can see it's definitely not as flowing as the Sennelier. So that's the beauty of having different brands of watercolors. They completely work differently, and also even within the brand you could find that one color works really different to another. So I'm just mopping and softening the edges here. And finally, let's do Schmincke Quinacridone Red Light, which is this third color. No, sorry, second, this one here. From the end. Oh, I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm going to drop in a drop of water just to soften and creamy, make it more creamy and match the same consistency. So this color didn't come within this 48 palette. This was originally a 36 plus 12 empty spaces, so I could add my own colors, and I did. And I believe, yeah, so this color was also a new color for 2017 for Schmincke. So now let's go in and get this beautiful pigment into here. Wow, so the color disperse here is amazing as well. Love it. So beautiful. I get so overexcited with watercolors. I could talk about them for a very long time. So here is Schmincke doing very well as brightness, and color flow as well, stunning. Oop, shouldn't have done that. With Schmincke, I always find that I have to wait until the color has fully dried to see the end result, because it tends to dry lighter, so it has a color shift or vibrancy shift. Okay, so 2 more petals left. Now that they are drying, you can see that in terms of vibrancy, the most vibrant being White Nights Quinacridone Red, then we have Schmincke Horadam Quinacridone Red Light, and then finally Sennelier Quinacridone Red being the least vibrant. However, I'm now going to attempt a glaze and see whether that color will come up in terms of its vibrancy. Okay, so the top peony is dry to the touch. I'm going to actually zoom in for you and have all 3 flowers in the frame so you can compare for yourself. It's quite beautiful to actually just quickly look at the effects right here. So the Schmincke seems to be a lot softer, and this one seems to be so what's the word, intense. I think intense is a very good way to describe White Nights. And do the glaze like so. I'm going to do these corners right here. And now with the water, I mean, yes, definitely it does intensify this quite a bit, I have to say. I'm just trying to soften it slightly more. That is quite beautiful. Very, very vibrant. Now it basically is looking more vibrant than the Schmincke, if that makes sense. So I'm just going to go in back into this creamy color and go right here at the edges. while we're at it, now the Schmincke is starting to look actually flat compared to the changed Sennelier flower. So at this point I actually want to try glazing with Schmincke, because I want to see how Schmincke would do. Would that stay within the same color, or would it do what the Sennelier has done and increase its intensity? Okay, so back to Schmincke. It's very interesting to watch the watercolors, how they change. You could see that with White Nights there is no need to do any glazing. You get it from the first go. So that also looks quite nice so far. Okay, so I have to say that the three poppies now are now at their most vibrant. I have to say they're very basically on a similar level of brightness. They're just slightly different colors. One thing I have to say though is that I find the Sennelier was a little bit easier to control when I was painting with it. With Schmincke it was harder for me to get these lovely highlighted areas, because the color would sort of move, and it has a softer kind of transition. I used the exact same techniques on all three of these poppies. So let me just, for the fun of it, go and do a third glaze on the Sennelier. So my worry with doing a third glaze is that it will start looking overworked, but I still want to see how it would go. So I'm just going to go back in and activate the watercolor again, because it has settled and dried a little bit on the palette. Predominantly I want to see whether that will make the watercolor any more opaque, because I have these lovely ink lines at the bottom and I want to be able to see them. Having done the third glaze now, I can see that the intensity is now exactly the same as the White Nights. And I really like how I still can remain those lovely highlights and create these textures, which I don't seem to be, or didn't seem to be able to do here with the Schmincke. So on the basis of doing this, once again for botanical, hands down, Sennelier seems to be the best watercolor. I really love how it works, and it just makes it look a lot more natural if you compare it to something like this, which is, although very intense and very beautiful and has a punch of color, it is not looking as realistic as this one does, and vice versa. The Schmincke actually starting to look a little bit more sketchier because of the softness of the color. And also one more thing I want to point out is that Schmincke, if you load it with a lot of layers, it will end up looking a little bit glossy at the bottom here. So White Nights doesn't do that, and Sennelier doesn't do it either, although they have some honey in there, which I would presume that probably would happen more in Sennelier, but it's not. So yeah, I hope you found this as interesting as I did, and thanks for watching. See you soon.